My dearest friends, thank you for joining me in this quiet space today as I sit here with the afternoon sun slanting through the window, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. My thoughts often drift back through the years. 60 years now. It feels like just yesterday my home was filled with the joyful chaos of little feet and burgeoning dreams, and now it holds a quieter hum. A different kind of peace. Many of you, I imagine, are in a similar season, or perhaps you remember it well. The children have spread their wings, building lives of their own, and in this new stillness there's a space, isn't there? A space for reflection, for looking back with the gentle clarity that only time can offer. It's in these moments that I found myself pondering the journey of parenthood, and specifically the things I once chased, the trophies I so desperately believed would mark me as a good parent. Oh, the striving, the endless pursuit of some invisible gold star from society, from our peers, and often from ourselves. We want so much to do right by our children, to give them every advantage, to ensure their happiness and success. But what if, in that fervent chase, we lose sight of what truly matters? What if the very trophies we thought we needed turn out in the end to be nothing more than polished brass and empty promises? Today, I want to share with you 7 good parent trophies I once believed were paramount. Trophies that, now at 60, I realize meant absolutely nothing in the end. And perhaps, by sharing my own rearview mirror reflections, we can find a little more freedom, a little more grace, for ourselves and for the journey we've walked, or are still walking. Number 1, the perfect child trophy, academic and extracurricular excellence. This first one comes with a heavy sigh, indeed. The perfect child trophy. It wasn't an actual trophy, of course, but an invisible badge of honor worn by parents whose children seemed to excel in every possible arena. The straight A's, the lead roles in the school play, the winning goal in soccer, the scholarships, the elite university admissions. Oh, how I chased that one. I remember when my daughter Sarah was just 8 years old. She had a sweet, gentle spirit and a quiet love for reading. But all her friends were signing up for violin lessons, and the mothers in my circle spoke so proudly of their children's recitals. I thought, well, a well-rounded child must play an instrument. So, despite her protests, despite the tears, I insisted on violin lessons. We bought a tiny, beautiful violin. And for 2 years, our evenings were filled with the screechy, off-key sounds of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Sarah would sit there, her little brow furrowed, her shoulders slumped, her joy visibly draining with each forced note. She never took to it, never loved it, and truthfully, neither did I, listening to it. In hindsight, I was seeking the validation of other parents, the quiet nod that said, yes, Margaret is nurturing a talented, accomplished child. I was polishing a trophy that wasn't meant for her or for me. What mattered wasn't the perfect rendition of a classical piece, but the light in her eyes when she curled up with a book, the deep, imaginative world she built in her quiet moments. The true trophy wasn't the sound of the violin, but the gentle hum of her contentment. We can become so focused on creating a resume for our children that we forget to nurture their souls. The true measure of their worth, and ours as parents, is not in their public accomplishments, but in the quiet flourishing of their spirit, their kindness, their unique spark. It might be worth asking yourself, are you chasing a trophy for them or for you? Number 2, the always agreeable child trophy, conformity and quiet obedience. Then there was the always agreeable child trophy. Oh, to have a child who simply listened, who never argued, who always followed the rules without question. What a dream that seemed in the midst of a busy day, when a dissenting voice felt like another hurdle. I confess, there were times I prized quiet compliance above all else. I recall a day, my son David, then a feisty 10-year-old, decided that instead of the sensible, sturdy shoes I'd bought him for school, he absolutely had to wear his bright red sneakers, which were frankly quite worn and inappropriate. I dug my heels in. It was a small battle, but in my mind, it was about obedience, about me being in charge. I lectured him, threatened, and eventually he crumpled, putting on the shoes I demanded. I felt a fleeting sense of victory, a quiet trophy of control. But that evening, dear Arthur, was visiting. David, still a little subdued, was quiet. Arthur, with his gentle wisdom, noticed. Later, Arthur shared a story about his late wife, Eleanor, and how she used to say, A mind that questions is a mind that grows, even if it makes for a spirited discussion at the dinner table. He spoke of how Eleanor treasured the strong opinions of their own children, not as defiance, but as the budding of independent thought. That conversation started a shift in me. I realized that my desire for an agreeable child often stifled their burgeoning individuality, their capacity to think critically, to stand for what they believed in, even if it was just about red sneakers. The real trophy isn't a child who passively obeys, but one who develops a strong, discerning voice, capable of navigating a complex world. Sometimes the greatest act of love is to create space for disagreement, to listen deeply, and to honor the emerging will of a child, even when it challenges our own comfort. Obedience has its place, yes, but so does the courage to be oneself. Number 3, the show-stopping birthday party trophy, material grandeur and social impression. This one, my friends, was a particularly expensive trophy to chase, the show-stopping birthday party, the pressure to host the most elaborate, most Instagram-worthy celebration for our little ones. For a while, I fell right into that trap. I remember Michael's 7th birthday. I was determined to outdo myself. We rented a bouncy castle that barely fit in the yard, hired a clown who was frankly a little unsettling, and ordered a cake shaped like a pirate ship that cost more than a week's groceries. I spent days baking, decorating, coordinating. By the time the party started, I was utterly exhausted, my patience thin. I floated around, trying to ensure every detail was perfect, trying to impress the other mothers, more than actually being with my son. The children, bless their hearts, ran wild for an hour, ate too much sugar, and then descended into squabbles over whose turn it was on the bouncy castle. When the last guest left, I collapsed, surrounded by wrapping paper and sticky crumbs. The joy was fleeting, the exhaustion profound. I thought of Arthur again, and his philosophy that happiness isn't a destination to be conquered, but a garden to be tended through daily practices of noticing, mending, and yielding. He would speak of Eleanor's quiet joy in arranging flowers, or how a simple cup of tea felt like a profound blessing. My pirate ship cake and bouncy castle felt less like tending a garden and more like a frantic one-time harvest. The real trophy wasn't the elaborate display, but the genuine laughter, the shared presence, the simple joy of connection. The best memories weren't the ones I staged, but the spontaneous giggles over a spilled juice box or a quiet hug after a bedtime story. Lavishness can often overshadow the very heart of celebration, the love and connection. Sometimes, the most precious moments are found in simplicity, in being fully present, rather than striving for external applause. Number 4, the busy calendar trophy, overscheduling and perceived enrichment. This trophy, the busy calendar, is one many of us still grapple with, even now. The idea that a truly good parent ensures their child is constantly engaged, enrolled in every conceivable enrichment activity, from Mandarin lessons to advanced robotics, from competitive sports to obscure art classes. The unspoken message is, a busy child is a successful child, and a successful child means a successful parent. I can still feel the constant hum of the car engine in my bones from those years. Soccer practice straight to piano lessons, then a quick dash to tutoring, homework crammed into the back seat. My children were exhausted, and so was I. There was little time for spontaneous play, for quiet contemplation, for simply being a family. Our dinner table conversations often revolved around schedules and logistics rather than heartfelt sharing. It reminds me of my dear friend Clara, who, after a lifetime of running on fumes in her demanding career, had to learn the quieter skills in her later years. She picked up watercolor painting, not to achieve mastery, but for the sheer joy of it, for the stillness it brought. She learned the courage to be a beginner and the grace of saying no to the endless demands of doing. I wish I had learned that lesson sooner. The busy calendar trophy left us all breathless and often disconnected. The true trophy wasn't a packed schedule, but the moments of unhurried connection, the space for boredom that sparked creativity, and the peace of simply being together. Sometimes, the greatest gift we can give our children and ourselves is the gift of time. Time for quiet, time for play, time for family, time for simply being. Are you scheduling life away or scheduling space for life to unfold? If something in this is resonating with you, I'd be so grateful to know. You might just type "I'm listening" in the comments below, so we know we're in this together. It helps to know we are not alone on this path. Number 5, the Spotless Home Trophy. Perfect order amidst chaos. Oh, the Spotless Home Trophy. This one was a particularly difficult ideal to relinquish. The notion that a truly competent mother maintained a pristine, perfectly organized home, even with toddlers leaving trails of toys and teenagers spilling crumbs. I used to believe that a tidy home was a direct reflection of a tidy mind, and thus a good parent. I remember so many times I'd be scrubbing floors or frantically tidying up while my children were building a magnificent fort out of blankets and chairs, or creating a masterpiece with finger paints. I'd be so focused on the mess that I'd miss the magic. My mantra was often, "Don't touch that, it'll get dirty," or "Clean up before you do anything else." Silas, my dear friend Silas, the retired accountant, used to be much like this with his numbers. He believed a balanced ledger would lead to a balanced life, a perfect order. But through a long life with his wife Mary, he came to realize that the most important accounts track joy, peace, and time well spent, not just dollars, or in my case, dust bunnies. He'd chuckle now and say, "Margaret, you can always clean a floor, but you can't clean up a missed moment." He even learned, with Elias's help, to repair old, beloved items, finding value in the mended and imperfect, rather than constantly seeking new perfection. The real trophy wasn't a gleaming countertop, but the laughter echoing in a blanket fort, the sticky hands covered in paint from a shared creative adventure, the sense of welcome and warmth that trumped immaculate order. Our homes are meant to be lived in, to hold the imprints of joy and creativity. True wealth isn't found in spotless surfaces, but in the rich tapestry of shared life, in prioritizing presence over perfection. Number 6, the My Child Never Struggles Trophy, shielding from discomfort and failure. This next trophy, the My Child Never Struggles Trophy, stems from the deepest part of a parent's heart, the profound desire to protect our children from any pain, disappointment, or failure. We want to smooth every path, remove every obstacle, ensure they glide through life untouched by hardship. I remember my son, Michael, struggling immensely with a particular math concept in elementary school. My immediate instinct was to swoop in, do the homework with him, explain every step, maybe even hint at the answers to spare him the frustration. I wanted to prevent the tears, the look of defeat in his eyes. And I did, for a while. But then, the next harder concept came, and he was even more lost because he hadn't truly wrestled with the previous one. It was a painful lesson for me. It reminded me of Arthur, who, after experiencing profound betrayal from a business partner, learned that healing isn't a single act, but a long, slow process of mending the cracks. He often speaks of how grief, or any hardship, is a companion to walk with, not an enemy to avoid. True strength and resilience aren't built in the absence of struggle, but through navigating it. The real trophy isn't a child who never falls, but one who learns how to pick themselves up, how to mend their own cracks, how to persevere with courage and faith. Sometimes our greatest love is shown not in shielding them from the storm, but in teaching them how to build their own sturdy boat. Allowing our children to experience age-appropriate discomfort, to stumble and learn from their mistakes, is a profound act of love. It builds character, resilience, and a deep-seated belief in their own capacity to overcome. Number 7, the My Child is My Entire Identity trophy, loss of self in parenting. And finally, perhaps the most insidious trophy of all, because it's one we polish internally, often without realizing it, the My Child is My Entire Identity trophy. This is the unconscious belief that our sole purpose, our entire worth, resides in our role as a parent. Every dream, every hobby, every personal interest can be slowly, subtly subsumed by the all-encompassing demands of raising children. For years, my life revolved entirely around my children's schedules, their needs, their triumphs, and their challenges. My own hobbies, my quiet moments of contemplation, even my marriage, sometimes felt secondary. I convinced myself it was noble, sacrificial, and in many ways it was. But when the nest began to empty and the daily demands lessened, I found myself staring at a quiet house and then at myself wondering, who is Margaret, now that mother isn't her primary title? It was a daunting question. I thought of Elias, who after his children left home, felt a profound loss of purpose. But he rediscovered himself through his old passion for woodworking and now finds fulfillment in mentoring younger men. And Clara, who in her later years courageously embraced being a beginner, learning watercolor. They reminded me that nurturing one's own soul isn't selfish, it's essential. The real trophy isn't a self completely subsumed by parenthood, but a rich, multifaceted individual who continues to grow, learn, and explore, even as the seasons of life change. Our children need to see us as whole beings, with passions and a purpose beyond them. It teaches them about a fulfilling life, and it allows us to approach our relationships, even with our adult children, from a place of wholeness, not neediness. Nurturing your own soul, pursuing your own passions, allows you to model a rich and fulfilling life for your children and ensures you have a vibrant garden of your own to tend long after they've flown. As I look back at these 7 trophies I once chased, I see them now for what they truly were. External validations, shiny objects distracting me from the deepest, most profound joys of parenting. They were often driven by fear, by societal pressure, by a desperate need to do it right in the eyes of the world, rather than in the quiet wisdom of my own heart or in the loving embrace of our Father. The truth is, the most precious trophies in parenting are not seen. They are etched not on polished metal, but on the human heart. They are the moments of genuine connection, the quiet acts of grace, the lessons learned in humility and patience. They are the unspoken knowing that your child feels safe, loved, and seen for who they truly are, not for who you wish them to be. They are the character built through struggle, the resilience forged in fire, the unique spark of personality that God breathed into them. These are the unseen trophies, friends, the ones that last. They are found not in striving, but in surrender, not in perfection, but in presence, not in control, but in trust. They are the quiet evidence of a love that truly echoes Christ's boundless grace, unconditional, forgiving, and ever-present, even in our imperfections. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me today, for sharing this quiet space. The journey of finding what truly matters in parenthood, as we've talked about, truly begins with looking inward, with a gentle reevaluation of the trophies we might still be polishing. If you're ready to take that first, gentle step on your own path of reflection, I've created something just for you. It's a free guide called The First 5 Questions, a gentle guide to rediscovering your story. It's designed to help you begin this exact process in a quiet and meaningful way. You can download it right now for free from the link in the description or at eldersecos.com. Thank you for sitting with me today. Be gentle with yourself and with those you love.